welcome to the SecureDynamics panelcast with me. I have four amazing guests today on the show, so I need to read everybody out so I make sure that I cover everything. So Diana Kelley is the CTO and founding partner at Security Curve, executive advisor, keynote speaker, board member. Deb Radcliff, who is a cybersecurity analyst, writer, editor, advisor. Ayesha Prakash, VP Worldwide Channel and Alliances at Kayla, Cyber Threat Intelligence and Strategic Alliances Leader and Advisory Board Member. And we have Venky Rangachari, who is a VP at HPE in the IT department, and also a startup advisor. I think I covered everything, right? Yes? Okay, good. I got one thing right today.
Very efficient.
All right, so the topic today is really on the supply chain and where do we go from here. So what I'll do is kind of kick it off and then go around in the order that I introduced. So Diana, Deb, Ayesha, and Venky, talking about just introducing yourself and then answering the first question, then we can dive in. So the question really is, going back to 2014, what was probably the first major supply chain attack through, if you remember, Target HVAC. And here we are in 2021 and have a list over here. Let's see, SolarWinds, Mimecast, Excellion, Microsoft, Qualys, Sonic Qual, Berkata, ... right? All of this has happened in the last 3 months. So let's start off a quick intro and then talking about 2014 when the Target HVAC thing happened to where we are in 2021. What do you think has transpired in the 7 years? Diana, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think that we've all started to understand that we live in a world that is a complex system of interconnected things, and that those things and that chain is really impacting how we can do business securely. So I think when you said supply chain attacks, back in like the early aughties, turn of the century, people kind of thought, well, if I'm not manufacturing something, I don't have to worry about a supply chain. But now when you think about how we live our lives, everything that we do is related to code somehow. We're dependent on code right now to not only transport the packets, but also the folks that wrote the code for this video conferencing software. Code is everywhere. And that means that the supply chain in the software realm is everywhere within our organizations and lives. And that's where you start to see, some of the ways the changes you were talking about, SolarWinds, that goes back to software and how we update it and how it intersects into our management lives. You look at Microsoft Exchange, who isn't using email in some form or another. So that, I think that's really the biggest difference, is that we've started to realize that our supply chain is not just manufacturing, not just our partners like at Target, but actually intersects with almost everything we do and touch nowadays.
Great. Deb.
Hi. So I come at this from a journalist perspective. I'm probably the first one that ever made cybercrime reporting a beat way back in the mid-90s. So I want to go a little farther back than 2014, if you're okay with that, Ashwin.
Absolutely.
I remember around 2000 and maybe 2000 or 1999, I was in a big thing with Microsoft and as a journalist, and I raised my hand and I actually asked about uploads, software uploads. How can I be sure that your upload isn't going to be a vector of attack? I literally got laughed out of the room, which is common for me because I approach everything as sort of a dummy and work in sort of like, learning. I bring up stuff that the people who are really mired in technology sometimes don't think about. Mm-hmm. And so that was one of those cases. So today, now we're looking at well-funded attacks, and they are multi-faceted. They sometimes include 0 days, sometimes they don't. But the scary part is they're going down to the DevOps level. They're even infecting code libraries, which brings up a whole bunch of issues around software bill of materials, as it applies into the digital bill of materials, which covers software, hardware, and firmware. So hopefully some of that work on the part of the government is going to help catch up with this problem, but it's really huge.
Ayesha, your thoughts?
An average enterprise today is engaging with several hundred third parties. So it's really not a matter of if, right? It's a matter of when and really how much reputational damage you're going to suffer, right, from a result of potential loss from your third party. And if you think about it, there's studies out there saying 60% of data breaches out there are linked to third parties. That itself should tell you that a CISO today needs to really focus on tools resources, not just looking at their perimeter, but you have to focus on what's out there, right? Because you're not fighting the right battle if you're just focused on your perimeter today. The other component, that you talked about the target breach, which, by the way, 7 years. Wow, I'm surprised. It's been 7 years. How much has changed, right? That's a question to ask everybody. I don't think that much. And I'm hoping we can decipher some additional ways that I think we can really think of our third-party risk management program and how we can enhance on it. So,
Venky.
There are 2 or 3 big waves that happened, right? You look at the movement to the cloud, right? And then you look at a parallel wave of agility, right? And agile application development. Then the whole concept of DevOps kicked in, now your infrastructure is a code, right? You can spin up VMs, you can spin up anything in a cloud, in a public cloud or in a private cloud, via code. And that introduces the ability to cause disruptions at a mass scale, right? And attackers are looking at where can I have a much bigger effect, much cascading effect. And supply chains have been ripe for that kind of a effect that it can produce, because you have automation, which is the driving force, and you have your migration to the cloud is another parallel transformation that's happening. And if you combine, and the risk for inflicting maximum disruption would be in the supply chain. So all these 3 factors that have sort of accelerated post during the pandemic era, right? And as a result, we are seeing a lot of these supply chain attacks.